Welcome back, everybody. Today is going to be fantastic, and you're going to get so much information. You're going to have so much fun. We've got Terence Jordaan with us, CEO of the Terra Group. I am super excited of having Terence with us on the show today. We linked up I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago for the first time again in 20 years. Yes, I only started mining at 19 years old, so I'm not that old, but yeah, Terence is also not that old, but we linked up, and then it was like a house on fire when we started talking about mining and where did our careers take us. He's currently the CEO of the Terra Mining Group, a mining engineer, professional mining engineer as well, and then a string of qualifications, one of which is a neuro coach, which I found fascinating, and he started exposing me to that. So I'm sure it's gonna come up somewhere along the conversation. Terence, good morning. How are you?
Christo, thank you for having me. What a great privilege and pleasure to continue our chat from 2 weeks ago and share it with other people. I'm doing well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm really well. I'm very excited about today, and thanks for making this time, Terence. I know you're a busy man and you've got lots going on. And being an entrepreneur yourself and a business owner, you know what it's like to not, never having normal working hours. But we're going to talk so many things today about life and career lessons. You've got 5 topics lined up, so I'm not sure we've got 3 hours or 4 hours, but we'll cover it in less than 50. Priority is another one: adventure and fun, technology and excellence. So I'm really excited about what you're going to share with us today. But I would like you just to tell our listeners a little bit about who's this person, and that I don't do all the introductions here. Thanks, Terence.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Christo. Now, so Terence Jordaan, I'm a husband to my beautiful wife, Yolandi, and a father to my awesome children, Conrad and Carly. Um, I'm a mining engineer, an entrepreneur. I've got a lust for life and adventure. My curiosity takes me to places and projects and situations that are very diverse, and I love that. And yeah, I've I basically worked for Anglo American for about 20 years, and then broke free into the entrepreneurial realm. And my career at Anglo was great. I worked everywhere, all continents, all business units. I was so blessed in that organization, having been exposed to the things I've been exposed and gained the experience. And the most important of all, the people I met, that I came across, that helped to shape me in who I am today and are still shaping me. I've got good network and relationships still till today with those people. Yeah, and then the entrepreneurial journey, it's tough out there. Being the small fish in, or the big, almost a big fish in a small pond. Now, even the Anglo is big. It's very protected in the corporate environment, very different, very lot of backup and support. And then when you jump out into the world without that backing, it's a big reality check. But what a blessing, the journey I've gone through and the opportunities that I've gained, people I've met, and the opportunities that I've had to contribute to industry and clients to uplift mining and make the world a better place through better mining. So that's me in a nutshell, Christian. And maybe I must just add, I mean, so yes, the neuro coach, I'll just delve into that. That was quite, it was a recommendation to do the course from a good friend of mine. And I did, I did the course on neuro coaching, and I must say it changed my life. It really put a lot of things in perspective. and it really helped to round my perception and interpretation of how I function in the world and being a better person. And being a better person, in my view, um, isn't just for yourself. Yes, you benefit, but everyone else and the whole world benefits out of that.
Well,
So
thank you. And by the way, I love that mining hat that you've got in your background there on your shelf.
I must tell you about this hat. This hat is a double crown sharp sinkers hat, you can see. So
Yes.
my father was a chief safety officer at Goldfields, and
Oh,
when they actually um, when there was a transition between the aluminium hard hats and the plastic ones, they actually stood at the on the bank at the end of shift and took the guys' hats and exchanged them. And this is a double crown shaft sinker's hat, I think from Kloof. I can't remember which Kloof.
wow.
Sub vertical sinking.
Can you believe it? Oh, well,
Yeah.
there's a
So,
story. There's a
he kept
story.
it, and it's still got the mark of the government mining engineer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, from the old days. All right.
Where's your flame safety lamp?
No, I don't have one. My ventilation equipment's on the other side of the office.
Passionate mining engineer. So there you have it. Like there's Terence's introduction. What I love about when we had our first chat, Terence, is that, well, not our first chat, but when we reconnected, is the zest and the love for mining, which is just so different. A lot of people out there, and mining is tough. There's no two ways about it. If you get into this business and you go your first shift underground and you've gone through the ranks, so you haven't told us that you actually were a chauffeur. You were in engineering training. You did the hard miles. You were a miner. You had a blasting certificate. You were a shift supervisor. You were a mine captain or a mine overseer, section manager, mine manager. So you've gone through the ranks, but it's tough. And in those years that you grow up in mining, you say, what have I signed myself up for? And here you are 20 plus years later, and you love doing it. You're excited about it. You've got even a private equity fund going. You are part owner and shareholder in your own mine, private mine, a gold mine in Zimbabwe. And so, I mean, this journey has taken you, incredible places, as you've mentioned. But I would love to know from your end. I mean, you said life and career lessons. There must have been also times in your life where you said, what have I gotten myself into? And what do we tell a younger version of ourselves when we get those tough times? But talk to us about this topic about life lessons and career lessons.
Oh, Christy, thanks for that question. It's you hit the nail on the head with mining is tough, and especially the journey of a young mining engineer in South Africa in narrow tabular mines, starting out there. Probably the toughest journey that you can take. And I need to take one step back that I I did extremely well at university. And I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because of that. And it was a massive reality check. Um, the expectations and ambitions, calibrating that with the reality of what you need to go through this journey and this experience. However, I was always up for the challenge, and so it was always a battle, and a race in my head, because but soon I was so blessed by meeting people that were so open to sharing their knowledge and experience that I quickly realized that this is worth it. Just it's an adventure. It's a new world of stuff I don't, I've learned, but learning is one thing, and application is something totally different.
Mm.
And I always say Excel is patient, so you can learn and do theory, but practical application and results and deliverables, that's actually what matters. And that was one of my very early learnings. But I think for a young mining engineer, you need to understand one thing, and that there's multiple, and it's like dominoes. You need to know who you are, not what you are, who you are. It starts there. You're not a mining engineer, you're a person who is a mining engineer.
Sure.
Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you need? Not what do you want? What do you need in life? Those are two very different things. And it sounds kind of cliche, but when you go into it, it's, you know, you get to the core of it. And how, it's sometimes not things you want to hear in the moment,
Yes.
because you've created expectations previously, and dreams that are not aligned to what you need, but what you want. And
Yes.
so, and it's all about influences of the external world. And I mean, we're just people, so I'm not being critical now. I'm just talking openly about this, my journey. And so I needed to figure out not what I am, who I am very early. And I can I've been blessed by having been challenged by that very early in my life.
So when you say
And
early, sir, I just want to know at what stage in your career was this like?
basically, um, how can I say? I've always known who I am, but we're so, your life is your studies basically, and your career. You take it up, so it's your future. You know what I'm saying? When you're in your university time, and
Mm.
you kind of, I must say, go wayward in that,
Hmm.
or I went, in terms of almost taking it too seriously, the what I am versus who I am. And
Okay.
that reality check, I still remember Tom van der Berg saying, okay, Terence, it's 16 level 14 crosscut west for you. So and that was such a blessing. And even Tom van der Nest, so they just resisted, those two, that I get promoted, that I get that I jump through the ranks. And then there were
Wonderful,
some very
wonderful
hard.
coaches. Both of them wonderful coaches. Sorry.
Excellent, excellent. So blessed to have been exposed and come across them. And then there were some other people that I really didn't resonate with, senior head office, general managers, but we said, with this whole thing about you're going to be a shippy for the rest of your life, so so you also get those things that come across your path. So you really need to figure out who you are, and what you need versus what you want, and that reality check. Um, so obviously we all want to go forward, and I only so you need to put your head down, and you need to understand that we walk by faith and not by sight.
Mm.
Everything that comes to us is basically we cannot predict the future. Everything is uncertain. Nothing is a guarantee. Remember when we were at Anglo Plat's head office, Christo, with that secondment story. You get this map about, okay, this is your career path story, and everything's mapped out and clear. The time is a bit uncertain, but there's timelines or whatever. So, but life isn't like that,
No,
actually. So,
no.
so they try to manage the expectations and everything, but then reality kicks in. And what a blessing, because um yeah I was fortunate that all my peers were mine overseers and section managers and production managers, and I was still a shiffy, and that was fine. I mean, so I made peace with it, because one of the other lessons I learned was, where comparison starts, contentment ends. So
Sure. I like that. I must write that down.
don't compare yourself, your journey, your situation with anyone. Don't go and on this trip of what's fair and what's not. Focus on yourself and be the best person you can be in that situation. There's always a difference to be made, something to be learned, and people's lives to change in your situation and an impact to be made. Don't go on that trip of comparison. It's the wrong thing. So, yeah. So, and then, yeah, I think so.
I love that. Sorry, if you're listening to this, you have to like hit the rewind button there for 30 seconds or 30 seconds and just there's a magical pearl there. Thanks, Terence. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but that was magic. Thanks.
Thanks, Christo. Yeah, and then I think so. This is now. So this is a fast forward. So that was basically in the moment, realizations afterwards, and I think having reflecting on difficult times, good times, all of it, and also mistakes. I think that one of the things that has basically held me together was and on course in terms of my journey was believing that everything that happens to you happens for you. But there's a caveat to that. You need to believe it. You can't otherwise. I mean, because bad things happen to us as well. We cannot deny that. But you need to understand that yes, it happened and it happened to you for the good for you. Because if you don't take that view, it's a fatalistic view. It's a downward spiral. If what happened to you wasn't for the good of you, then you're going to believe it. It's a downward spiral. So I cannot downplay when really bad things happen. But I think so. But that principle for me has held true and kept me on track. And yeah, and then the whole dichotomy of um to be wise you need experience, but then also to be wise you need like lifelong learning, and wisdom is a function of experience and experience is a function of wisdom, so all these things are together. But what it actually comes down to is you get theoretical learning and you get practical learning, and the magic happens when you combine them in actually doing something. I remember, can't remember who said it, but I mean, it is an old saying on the underground mines: "Talk is cheap, money buys the whiskey." So, so it's all about action and delivery. And you know what's great, Chris? Too, it's about this whole thing about if you do stuff, new stuff, you you make mistakes. It's messy. It's not a
Exactly.
laboratory and it's not textbook stuff. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And the
Yes.
people in which it brings another dimension to it. But it's actually great because you just need to navigate through it and just keep on doing stuff. Never procrastinate. That's something that I luckily never did. I I I don't know if I am hyperactive. Hyperactive. I was a hyperactive kid that was never diagnosed, and but I could never just sit and do nothing. Yeah. So I remember the one time I must tell this story. It was at the Mandelbult mine. There was the strip mine at the open cast site at the outcrop, and I was busy with my open pit blasting ticket or surface blasting ticket shifts, and I was a blasting assistant. And we were waiting for the emulsion truck to deliver the explosives to pump. And then me and the other blasting assistants, it's like it's monotonous, it's boring. We were waiting for an hour already, and then it was just after the rain, so we actually stood on both sides of the pit and played clay lot. You know, the chairlift was just there behind the where we are anyway, and guess who walks out of the bush while we're playing clay lot? The general manager. Playing clay lot at the open pit. So yeah, that was. But anyway, so yeah, it's. I mean, my how can I say my inability to sit still sometimes gets me in trouble. But I think in the balance, it's actually been a blessing.
For those that are in different parts of the world, and we have a very diverse audience, and we've got people from all over. So clay lot is an Afrikaans term that you've got a piece of stick or a branch of a tree or whatever, and it's quite a stiff piece of branch, and you put mud at the front end of this, and then you stick this piece of mud and you use it as like a slingshot to throw somebody else with mud. So thanks for that typical Afrikaans young boy naughty story. I love that. Yeah,
But I think maybe in summary, listen to your young self. Like again, figure out who you are and have your ambitions, but I mean, calibrate yourself, walk your journey, walk your path,
mm.
because that's what shapes you. Um, Shortcuts are not the way to go. If you don't do the hard yards, you don't have enough challenges to shape you. Anything that's worth doing in life is effort, and it's not about the experience only. You understand, the technical, and it's about coming across people and in different situations and being a real person and absorbing what the world gives you and being a blessing in the moment. So that's what the advice I can give my young self.
It's very those are very wise words, and I love your analogy of wisdom and experience and that dichotomy of you have to bring it together, and you're also like a student for life. And I love the fact that it's an ongoing journey of learning. But talk to us in that process of gaining wisdom, gaining experience, and having very ambitious dreams and plans, and you've got your timelines. I want to be at this level at that time in my career. The other subject that you're super passionate about is also priorities. Talk to us about why priorities. In what context are you talking about here?
Yeah, so I think it comes back to the subject of who you are versus what you are. And yeah, priorities, I mean, mining stuff in the sense that the time and the hours you work, especially early in your career, and so that thing about work-life balance doesn't really exist. But I think priorities is basically, for me, it's about what's important to you and focusing on that. Because if you don't have priorities, you will overbook your diary. You will double book. So you need to prioritize, which is a bit of a practical example. But things like your health, your mental well-being, your family,
Mm,
your loved ones. Do things that you love, you know, things that you enjoy.
mm,
Don't live in the future. Don't sacrifice today for the future. All you have is today. And yes, you need to dream, you need to have ambitions, but I think it's quite key to figure out who you are, what you stand for, and what makes you tick. And out of that, figure out what you need to focus on as a person. Don't worry about the job, getting to the top, all the stories, of ambition and career. That will happen. It will happen in good time. You just need to stick to your priorities based on your values and your beliefs. And I think a key thing as well, maybe going to priorities and to the previous question of the young self, is your values are based on your beliefs and your perception of the world. But don't you're not a piece of concrete. You must be dynamic. You shouldn't cast that in stone, because some of them stick. Don't get me wrong, but as we grow older, our perceptions, and as we get exposed to different situations, our perceptions and beliefs are changed.
Yes.
And our values are a bit fluid and reshaped,
Yeah.
or let me say, they are, what's the right word? They are honed into something. So it's like almost like a statue that, as one of these stone statues. So it's taking shape, but it's not really there yet. So being just chipping another piece off and reshaping another piece. So don't be but be open minded as well.
Mm.
And different life phases, different priorities. I mean,
Yes.
being a young bachelor versus a husband and a father in a corporate, uh, versus being a husband and a father in an entrepreneurial situation. Very different priorities. Some core, but some of them very, very different. So figure out your priorities and focus on that, because that's the 20% that will make 80% of the difference.
I love I love the fact that keep an open mind about your priorities, but also about your belief system and your values, because in some ways they do change. And I love that, because it one of the people in my inner circle that shapes me the most in that, or stretches me the most in that regard, is my daughter. Well, our daughter, she's a high performer, very successful in her own corporate career, but she thinks just totally differently, and the way she engages with people and includes, and has this total inclusion mindset of not excluding anybody, and just, she has really shaken my world. And if it wasn't for that sort of input in your life and being open-minded, I think I would have been one of those people that you say, well, you have to accept me for who I am. This is who I am. I'm not going to change. This is me, and accept me, or that's it. And that is dangerous. And I hear that's what you were saying. That's the crux of having that open mindset.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I
I
love
think
that.
I can also say that my daughter, she's 8 now, is it's actually, they're so honest and so open, and and so blunt and to the point that you sometimes it's hard to take what they say, but if you're not open minded, there's such a gem that you're not taking.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned adventure and fun, and I recall us in our prep session where you've mentioned to me when you started this, and you did this gold mine that you own with other shareholders, how much fun you had building this and staying on site for 3 weeks in a month and only being with your family 1 week.
Yeah.
But talk to us about adventure and fun, and what does that mean to you?
Maybe just one correction, Christo. So that mine I built isn't my mine, but
Oh, okay. All right.
so it
Sorry.
was yeah, yeah. But
You would like
I
to
still
have it.
I still need to build my own one. We've got a resource, but we we haven't broken ground yet.
Sorry, man, but it's coming.
It's coming, definitely, definitely.
All right, but talk to us about that, and talk to us about adventure and fun.
Yeah, so adventure. Look, I think if you're not having fun, then you're busy with the wrong things. You really, really, yes, some days are hard. Let's face it. But in the balance, if you're not having fun, or you don't make time to have fun, whatever you're doing,
Mm.
you really need to ask yourself, is it worth it? And um, yeah, so fun for me is inherent in everything I do. Everything I do, because if I don't enjoy it, then I really need to reevaluate. And that's quite a blessing because a lot of people don't have that situation. But I also believe that fun and enjoyment and happiness is a mindset.
Mm.
And your mind or your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. So you need to decide to have fun. You need to decide to be happy. Then it will happen. And then yeah, the adventure side, I'm quite curious, like I mentioned. So I go to all kinds of places. I mean, obviously the formal stuff, the ultra deep mines and the big open pits, very great adventures, but also great adventures. Having a 2-day backpacking trek in Madagascar and coming to an artisanal lithium mine, that kind of situation where the guys are digging tunnels that are 60 by 60 centimeters and yeah, yeah, and obviously the realities of the DRC, the artisanal and illegal mining there, um, having engaged with some of those people. So, and yeah, and then one of my recent jobs, consulting and advisory in Colombia, brilliant place. Yeah, so I've been blessed having been in Anglo on all the continents and places where they operate, and except the sales and marketing office. I think it's in Singapore or somewhere around there. But all the other places I've been, and yeah, and in my own business from the US, France, Madagascar, DRC, Zambia, uh, um, where else? Colombia and Canada. So I'm missing something somewhere, but oh, and Namibia, of course, but and South Africa. But it's been quite a nice journey of uh, seeing things that you don't normally see and
Mm.
going to commodities that aren't the shiny mainstream stuff, So, like, for example, kaolin. Kaolin, do you know what kaolin is used for? The clay.
Yes.
It, for makeup. So I've been at a makeup mine, so,
That
and
that
yeah,
which
so
that which you just used before the podcast started.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I just for me I just need to keep myself stimulated, and I think the other thing, coupled with the adventure and the fun, I only go where I can add value. If I can't add value, I don't feel self-fulfillment. And then for me it's not worth it. So the the balance of the value must sit with the client.
Yes.
If they don't get value out of my advisory services, then I've got no right to be there. I don't go to just charge hours. I go to add value.
Yeah. I love that. And I have a very similar experience in the last 12 months where you start realizing that the value that you cannot add, is not being seen, and you struggle that how can a client or a company pay for a service and the value is not extracted, and you feel like, oh, we should have a
Yeah.
conversation about this because I'm here to add value to you, and you're not getting the value that you deserve. I love
Yeah.
that. And I love the excellence part of the conversation as well, which is another passionate topic of yours. And one of our recent guests spoke on excellence, and it was such a fantastic podcast. But it's an underlying theme for people that our audience are people that they listen to this podcast because they are not, they're cut above the rest. They believe in self-development. They listen to this podcast because they get the learnings from people like yourselves. And excellence is such a, phenomenal underlying key success factor in one's career or in your own business as an entrepreneur, or just, what you are busy with. Talk to us about that, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, Christo. So excellence in my mind, I I learned a phrase from Martin Priest. I had the privilege to have worked with him, and
Rock engineer.
no, Martin Priest. I don't know what's his current role, but he was interim CEO of Goldfields.
Okay.
Yes, so we worked together at De Beers, and Martin always said, "Don't let perfection stand in the way of good." Right. So I just need to put that on the table before, before I explain my view on excellence. So I think excellence in mining isn't rocket science. It isn't being the cleverest person in the room. It's about being pragmatic and practical. And most of the time, it's about going back to basics. Back to basics. But even before you go back to basics, you need to align the people. If the people don't believe, you won't achieve excellence. So there's different, how can I say, dimensions to excellence. But for me, in terms of what I do, um, I believe being the best version of yourself in the moment and in the situation. Yes, in hindsight, you can always do things better, and but that's wishful thinking. Just be the best version of yourself. Be disciplined, because motivation doesn't stick, but discipline sticks. Having the habit of discipline creates excellence, and excellence is a choice. It's not a Yes, it is a choice that comes over time and it's practiced, but as a habit. But it's your choice, and within your control. And yeah, if I can also add, like I said, it's not rocket science excellence. I mean, doing things well isn't rocket science. It's really, really basic. Yes, not to say that the very clever solutions and very high tech solutions aren't excellent. Some of them aren't, but let's agree that very few of those rocket science solutions actually deliver excellent results.
Hmm.
So if you measure excellence in terms of an outcome or a deliverable, you need to be you can't just be the cleverest guy. You need to take the people along, and you need to deliver the results.
Hmm.
So that's typically how I see excellence.
I love that. It's very, very much aligned. I listened to a podcast recently of Alex Hormozy, and he was talking about leaving everything out there and giving his best. It was a recent book he published on marketing and sales. But it is just being the best version of yourself in the moment. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is your perfect at that moment. It is your best at that moment. You go to bed at night knowing, for this client, for this job, for whatever I've did today, that was my best. I left it all out there. Uh, yeah, given the context of priorities and your value system and your family and all of that. But just knowing that for that piece of work or for that moment, that was my best. I love that. It doesn't have to be comparative to the rocket scientist out there. Maybe your physics 101 at your very best in that moment didn't take you to the moon, but it took you to the place where the client or your boss or whoever that is or your supervisor saw your effort. And that's really all that matters. And in that moment, you grow and you learn. And next time, that in your best zone is something better. It's maybe the bar is raised, but the
Yeah.
discipline and the habit of just doing it. Um, I love, I don't think I've ever made this many notes on a podcast about the gems that you are dropping today. So I really appreciate that. We're gonna we're gonna go to the last topic, and I'm conscious of time for our listeners. Technology. I know it was. I don't think there was any priority. I don't know if there was a priority in terms of your list of topics. I think they are all equally important to you. But talk to us about technology in our, as our final closure topic.
So um, I've always been very blessed by being in the mix of where new things happen. When Anglo Platinum started playing with mechanizing, narrow tabular, medium depth to operations, so I was in the mix of those experiments.
Me too.
And yeah, so I mean, we sank a decline on operating costs there at the back of our monobolt, without head office knowing, and we started our experiment, and but it was good. And the next year, so a lot of exposure to some new products, the narrow reef equipment, going into the low profiles, going into the ultra or extra low profiles, and then extra, so it was like whole evolution and being part of that. So a lot of learning in that. And I actually did a university course on technology management, or the management of technology,
Mm,
and the S curve principle of how technology develops, and then it's adopted, and then mainstream, and then it accelerates, and then it matures, and then there's a next S curve of adoption, that of a replacement technology.
mm,
But but technology, I think the understanding of what technology actually is, yes, it, it's a physical piece of hardware, but it's also that practical know-how and knowledge. And for me, so without that, the piece of tech, let's call it that, means nothing. You, and I think that's a that's a big problem in the mining industry today. A lot of people just run to tech to solve their problems, and they don't focus on the basic know-how of what they are busy with. And I need to I'm going to mention a project I did when I was the mine manager and alternate general manager at Columella mine. We got the opportunity to automate something. So and prior to that, basically about 6 years, 7 years prior to that, I was on the verge of setting up an automated site for Anglo American. I remember Bill Abel was still the technical director of the head of a Anglo technical division, and we were presenting to Bill, and then Cynthia Carroll sold the zinc operations, and Scorpion Zinc was our little sand pit in the desert to do automation. So I never got to do it there, and then at Kuma I got the opportunity again. And wow, what a excellent opportunity. So we decided to start with the easy stuff. We decided to automate the drills. Great learnings, and one of the biggest learnings I can put, and those drills, by the way, those production drills are still running automated today. And It's I mean that says a lot about the team and how they've actually taken it seriously and also focused on the know-how. But yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I learned that technology is not about the kit, it's about the people. That's actually what it's about. If the people don't adopt the technology, don't learn how to use it, don't learn how to add value with it, it's only technology. It's not you know, it's not something
Not a
that
silver.
adds.
It's not a silver bullet.
Yeah, it's basically a fad or a phase that will blow over.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's been phenomenal, Terence. Uh, Also, what you said this last bit, and I just want to echo what you said. We've had over the last year a number of our guests speaking about technology, and it is so topical for what we are, just dealing with in our personal lives, whether it's mining or not. And it has been the common theme about technology. It's about the people. It's about that adoption. It's about that mindset and helping them and taking them through the process and then them, making it work. And I love that view and I subscribe to it as well. Terence, firstly, super thankful of you taking the time to do this today and being vulnerable and also just sharing your story and helping a younger Terence out there that's full of zest and adventure and Glaylat and naughty but adventurous and also super focused and on excellence, which all of our listeners are like that in terms of focus on their careers. Any final words that you would like to leave with us today?
Um, yeah, I think, you know, maybe something I learned recently that I can share that really resonates with me in this moment. Our world is upside down in a lot of ways, even our country, South Africa. And I learned the principle of the Stockdale Principle. So go and check it out. But what it typically means, it means that it's a general who was basically captured in Vietnam, and he lasted for multiple years in captivity. The other guys actually didn't last, you know, but then they asked Stockdale, how did you survive? And he said, and why did the other guys not survive? He said, the guys who kept believing they'll be out by December, they didn't make it. They died, or they were executed, or they gave in. The guys who kept on believing that someday he'll get out, but he didn't really fixate on the details of a date, that person made it. So my message is just keep on doing what you're doing. Be the best version of yourself. Don't have your ambitions, have your timelines and your milestones, but it's not all in your control. And yeah, the world's not going to pieces, everyone. Just do your best where you are, what you. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much, Terence. We're gonna recap at the end, so don't go away. Terence, thank you so much for today. Know that you're gonna be very successful. You're already very successful, and you are having fun doing this journey. All the best for your adventures, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Christo.
Thanks. There we have it, everybody. The neurocoach mining engineer, Terence Jordaan. Wow, what a privilege. It was fantastic conversation. I've noted a lot of things, but I'm just going to keep 5 things that for me is very different today than what, it's just very different. So here we go. Number 1, where comparison starts, contentment ends. Number 2, what happens to you happens for you. Number 3, who you are versus what you are. Number 4, stick to your priorities based on your values. And number 5, decide to be happy and you will be happy. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have fun doing your mining. Cheers.